I love storytelling, I love games, you may have figured that out by now, and I really like solitaire games because these days, with a full-time job and two daughters at home, I'm not able to join or organize nearly as many game events as I would like to. Because, well, I want to play games much more often than I can, so solitaire games are a perfect option for me to play when no one is around or everybody's around and I'm not. As I was browsing some titles on the website RPG Now, which is a great source for PDFs containing word games, board games, role-playing games, core books for role-playing games, supplements, solo adventures, and I'm not getting paid for saying this, simply just information I want to share from gamer to gamer. If you don't know the website, you should, because there's other good stuff there. As I was on RPG Now, I somehow stumbled across this really weird game titled A Week in the Life of a Level 1 Slime, a solitaire storytelling game. Those are two things that are hard to get together. How do you create a game? How do you have a game that creates a storytelling experience that is just you versus the system, you with the system? And also, this idea was paired with a very original theme, not the usual, we go down a dungeon, loot the treasures, kill the monsters, and kill the big bad guy. In this game, you are a slime. You are one of a gelatinous cube, you are a pudding, you are one of these semi-sentient creatures that have plagued role-playing games since the beginning, really, since the inception of the form. And they're just immensely fascinating. I had to say, I still remember vividly the time that I was walking down a dungeon and I saw this skeleton fluctuating towards me, surrounded by some strangely fluctuating coins and weapons. And little did I know at the time that that wasn't a floating skeleton, but it was the remainings of a hero that had been absorbed by a gelatinous cube, an almost invisible cube that was occupying the whole corridor. We all remember moments like that one. So you had this strange, I don't know, by the way, where did the idea come from? I'd like to know that. If you know it, let me know in the comments. How was Gaiga? So, you know what would be really, really cool? You know, last week I saw we had some Jell-O in my refrigerator. It was getting old and, you know, moldy and smelling. I thought, what if it creeped out of the refrigerator? What if it crawled out of the refrigerator and tried to eat me? I'm gonna make a monster out of this. I don't know how else the idea came about. And this game, you're one of these weird creatures, slimy creatures, and the game lasts a week. So basically in the game you will write the diary of a slime of a week of the life of a slime. The game pretty much will give you narrative hooks and some tasks to pass, and you will determine whether or not you pass them. You pass certain tests will be connected to certain contents, so you will know the slime failed to do this, the slime succeeded in doing that, and you use that to build a story around those. There isn't really a victory condition or lose condition. You lose if you don't have fun, you win if you enjoy creating that story. And yes, it is a story that you play in your head. You can write it down. And the point is precisely that you can write down a diary of 7 days in the life of a slime. Then in 2 years' time, you will read it and it will be like a mini short story. You can flesh it out a little bit more, share it online. But mainly it is pretty much a personal storytelling system. It is a tool for daydreaming, to play stories in your head. How does it work? Well, you have your own character sheets where you will record some of your abilities. Also, to play the game, you need a bag of candies that can be replaced with other things. For example, I replace the candies with color beads. You take color beads of various colors, or you take candies, whatever it is. You need to count how many you have of each type. This I count as white, although it's transparent, black, green, etc., etc. So you simply write on a piece of paper how many you have of each type, and you place them in order from the most common to the least common. Then you will name each color, you will associate with a difficulty, a severity of challenge for your protagonist, for your slimy protagonist. So the most common color for me is orange, and I call the orange challenge is average, just easy stuff, the normal stuff, you know, trying to absorb an Elfling or trying to avoid a electric base spell, just what we slimes do every day. The second is a little harder, moderately challenging. Then we get to challenging, minor crisis, major crisis, catastrophic, etc., etc. Then I'll explain how these work. But again, first you associate rarer colors with difficult challenges and vice versa. Then it is time for your slime to come up with hopes and fears. Think of situations that your slime may want to face, may want to encounter. Again, hopes and dreams that you want to fulfill, and fears, things that you're hoping will not happen. You think of 6 of them. It can be more, it can be a little less, depending on how many of these guys you have, because then you will associate each of them with a color. So, for example, in one of my games, my slime, it was an orange pudding, was really afraid of being attacked with a fire or electric spell, afraid of losing moisture and getting too dry, afraid of his dad that resents the fact that that my slime detached himself, or herself, it's hard to tell the gender, detached itself from dad, and dad since then has been annoying because dad wants to reabsorb me. Dreams, mating with a red pudding that lives somewhere around the goblin's dens, which is in another area of the dungeons, because I have a long-distance relationship. And parasocial, my orange pudding dreams of mating with her or him or it or them, but the red pudding doesn't even know that my orange pudding exists. And then just a regular goal, absorbing a human, and a regular goal, absorbing some shiny stuff. With the human also has some jewelry then that shines within me. Makes me less stealthy, by the way, but also it's nice, it's fun. Maybe red pudding will be impressed by all the bracelets and rings that I have incorporated. Once this is done, you associate them again with the colors that you have, making sure to mix in some common ones in the fears and some common ones in the hopes, and then some less common in each category. Then finally it's time to determine your initial stats in gooiness, sliminess, and bounciness. You know, you have intelligence, dexterity, that strength, that kind of thing. Well, here you can be particularly gooish, particularly slimy, or particularly bouncy. You draw 3 of these randomly, and then simply you associate them with letters representing colors that you will have written here. Back one step. You need to assign the same colors that you have here to these bubbles here. It's pretty much random. Here, for example, I decide to place orange and red. Here I decide to place green and white, and here I place the other 2 colors. Then, as I draw 3 of these beads, and I assign a point to my guy in the categories where the colors of the beads is. When the colors are. So, for example, suppose that I place blue here and this is white, then I get a point of sliminess, and I place green out of the color here, then I get 2 points of bounciness. Also, I need to draw a color bead here to determine my main color, which would be orange, and this is also my favorite type of candy. When I eat this kind of candy, I get an advantage. Now we're good to go. What happens each day? Each day you will draw a number of candies depending on the number of the day. So the first day you get 3, 4, 5, etc. The more, the tougher it is. The more of these candies you draw, because these represent challenges. Now, if there is a dominant color, suppose that it is, for example, day 2, and so we draw 4 to indicate the challenges that my slime will have to face that day. If there is a majority of any color, that indicates the level of difficulty. For example, for a blue day, because blue is the dominant color, I'm gonna have a moderately challenging event. So I have to think of a moderately challenging day. Also, this will tell me what kind of events I will have. I will have a blue event, an orange event, and a white event. That means associated with these things. Maybe based on how I had associated things. For example, looking at this example here, I will have an event that has to do with trying to absorb a human. This is the blue. For white, I will have an event that is trying to dodge an attack from fire electricity. And with orange, I will have the fear of getting dry. So this is the topic, this is the topics. Each of these is a challenge, and I'll take a challenge simply by comparing the number of candies of that color with the number of points that I have in my category. Gooiness, sliminess, bounciness. Remember, there may be 0, 1, 2, or 3, etc., etc., etc. Suppose, for example, and if the number of your quality that you're testing is equal to or higher than the number of candies in that quality, then you pass the test. If the number of candies that represent the colors in the category is higher than your score in the category, then you fail the test. For example, suppose here blue is said corresponds to absorbing a human in this story, and suppose that blue is here, and here there is a color that is not relevant, and I only have 1 bounciness. The bounciness test is 2 because, again, remember, blue is here, so I failed the bounciness. I failed to absorb a human. But then suppose that these other 2 are in categories where I have at least 1, so I pass the test for dodging fire, electricity, and getting dry. So I'm gonna think now of a story for myself that involves failing the absorption of a human but being successful in avoiding to lose too much moisture and avoiding this attack. So I'm imagining there was a party of heroes that included a wizard that had fireballs in his magic wand. I tried to drop on the guy, but the guy saw me, threw a fireball at me, and luckily enough it missed. However, as it hit my beloved ceiling, where I spend most of the day waiting for adventurers so I can drop over their head and absorb them, the fireball hit the ceiling, and that absorb all the moisture which is there, which is so nourishing for me. So at that point I had to run away. I was able to disappear into the cracks on the ground, but I had to go and look for a very moist place. Maybe spend some time in the goblins' latrines. There's a lot of nutritious fluids there, and I was able therefore to stay moist. That was my moderately challenging day, in which I failed in one of my things and I succeeded in other 2, and I built a little scene around this. Maybe next time I will, for example, succeed in absorbing a human, but failing in absorbing something shiny, but then be successful in mating with the red pudding. Then this time I dropped on this magician that had this very nice bracelet that I wanted to incorporate, and I covered the guy and I started absorbing it, but the hand of the magician was out of the pudding. And since it was a magic bracelet, a magic ring, one of the people in his party wanted to preserve that, so they pulled the hand, and the hand came off because that I wasn't absorbing yet. So, well, I ate the delicious wizard, but I failed to incorporate the absorbing thing. However, somehow rumors started circulating that I bravely attacked a powerful wizard, the red pudding. Heard about those maybe from the purple jello or from the pink mousse. I don't know what I'm talking about. In any case, Red Pudding was very impressed by the story, possibly because it wasn't reported correctly and accurately. And that night we mated, and hooray! And I cannot tell you the details that I would make up around that little episode. That's how it works. However, I'll add a detail. At the end of each day, you can eat the candies of all the challenges that you passed, and that increases for each candy that you eat. You increase by 1 level a box of the corresponding stat. If I eat a blue candy, then I get another point there. And you continue like this until the end of the week, and I hope you will have fun. I hope you'll create a crazy, fun story for yourself. It's entertaining, it's enjoyable, but there is a big problem for me. Well, several problems actually. One is the rules are not completely clear. There are some areas where I have to make judgment calls. For example, it says if you eat a candy, it doesn't go back in here, but doesn't say what happens if you do not eat a candy. And I assume that the candies of the challenges that you fail, that you do not eat, go back in there. Another thing is that actually, and this is the biggest problem, you become strong very fast. And the rules say it's fun to see your slime become stronger and stronger during the week, but by the end of day 3, usually you just do not have to fear any more challenge. Remember, you have 2 colors per ability. So if I eat a green candy and if I eat, say, a red candy, then I'm gonna increase my ability here by 2. More than that, when I eat a candy of my favorite color, which is my own color, if I'm orange pudding, it's orange candy, I get an extra point. So actually, if you pass a couple of tests the first couple of days, when you have a value, say, of 5 or 6 here, it's pretty much impossible that all of the candies that he will draw, well, it's very difficult that all the candies that he will draw will be of one color, and that color will be in that number, and that will get to a number which is higher than your characteristic. Starting from day 3, you pass all of the tests, precisely again because you're able to build up your characteristics from multiple sources, from multiple candies that you eat. I tried to correct that, and you could do that. You know what? One way of correcting it would be with only 3 colors. Then I only have 1 color here, 1 color per. That may take care of that because now the advantages that I get are I only get to advance 1 per category. I do not have 2 types of candies that can contribute to an advance of a category. However, that also means only 3 hopes or fears, so you have fewer narrative possibilities. Another way I tried to correct that was to add 3 more abilities, so that each of it was associated with only 1 color, so I only have 1 type of candy that increases each category. So I had the stealth, which I'm surprised wasn't there to start with. Acidity, that's also very important, and stickiness. If you can be sticky and bouncy, I mean, it doesn't get any better. And yet, even like this, by spreading out the advantages so that each ability would not get up as fast, I was still able to get stats that allow me to pretty much pass any challenge. So the problem is that the game feels a little too easy, and it is not a game that you really play for the challenge, you play for the fun. But also narrative is not as fun if from half the week on you don't have any real challenge. Even as a story, not just as a game, but as a story, is not that interesting. I want stories that are zany, strange, entertaining, and also quote-unquote exciting until the end. Actually, they get tougher at the end. And yes, here you have a number of candies that will represent challenge that will increase, but not nearly as fast as it should to make up for your increasing strength day after day. I like the idea. I like the idea very much. It feels that the game maybe wasn't play tested much, wasn't developed much. Again, as I said, the rules have some gray areas. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, and I'm happy if this is the case. I'm happy this video has me clarify. Some of my viewers will correct me, but as I said, it simply seems too easy, and even experimenting as I did with a couple of penalties, it just feels a little too easy. Which is bad, because I think there really is great potential here. I hope somebody picks up the system, maybe polishes this game a little bit, creates a similar systems, a little tighter, a little more solid, but revolve around similar ideas and work. Again, a storytelling engine. I like this idea, and it's a new genre. I never played, solo storytelling games, which really is not even, it's the game. Is it just, again, structured daydreaming? I do not know, but I know that when it worked, when there were interesting challenges, by adding some of your creativity, really some fun scenes came out. I was giggling like an idiot, just playing by myself, imagining the strange scenes that my pudding was being the protagonist of. It was really fun, really entertaining. I think there's great potential. I don't feel that this game fully expresses it. Kudos for the theme. Kudos for the originality of the theme. A big negative thing, however, is that I think this game is vastly overpriced, because it is, brace yourself, $4. $4 may not be much in general terms, but for a game which is like 6-7 pages of PDF, doesn't look like a lot of effort was put in, is way too much. This kind of game with this kind of material, this amount of work that went into, usually on RPG now you can find for free. You can find for pay what you want. You don't like for free, you play and you think, okay, this was worth $1, I'm gonna donate $1 to the designer. I don't feel that this is worth $4. With $4 you can buy full RPGs, manuals of 60, 80 pages of RPG with tables, stuff that has been play tested a lot, very solid, a lot of work went into that. It's not that $4 is a lot. For a couple of pages of print and play material that doesn't seem had much development behind, $4 is like $4 too expensive. They should be $4 cheaper. And then you donate whatever you feel it's appropriate. So, am I recommending? I don't know. Actually, like the many people have a look at it and were inspired by it and gave us more storytelling, diary writing, diary building games, because I think it's a really fun activity. I wish I can do it more in the future. I wish I can find more games of this type in the future, and especially I wish I can find better games of this type in the future. Week in the life of a level 1 slime. Great idea. Very weak implementation, great potential, which I hope somebody one day will develop.